Heartwarming moment. Bank manager rips up check of young woman unbeknownst to her, mom's a CO. Emily stepped into the bank, her heart racing like the bustling crowd around her. The smell of fresh coffee mingled with anxiety, a reminder of the weight on her shoulders. At 25, she worked 2 jobs to support her ailing father, all while chasing her own dreams. She clutched a check that could be the lifeline she desperately needed, a symbol of her relentless effort against a tide of financial struggle. As she approached Mr. Thompson, the bank manager, his eyes skimmed over her worn-out blouse. A judgment nestled in the depths of his gaze. He took the check from her fingers, flipped it over, and smirked disdainfully at the sum. With a cruel flourish, he ripped it to shreds, the sound cutting through the air like a knife. Emily stood there, a mix of humiliation and anger bubbling inside her. The chatter around her faded into a dull roar, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. Every pair of eyes felt like daggers. Why did she even think she was worthy? She had poured her heart into that job, working late nights just to make ends meet, and this moment of dismissal threatened to crumble her spirit. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes, mixing with the indignation swirling within her. Just as Emily's self-worth began to dwindle, her estranged mother, Laura, was driving through the town, her heart heavy with guilt and the burden of ambition. A successful CEO now, she traded her family for career goals, convinced she was paving the way for something bigger. Yet the streets surrounding her mirrored memories of laughter and love, a sharp reminder of what she'd lost. Unbeknownst to Emily, fate had set their lives on a collision course. She grappled with warmth rising in her chest as the bakery down the street began donating bread in exchange for her father's captivating stories. Local artists showcased her journey through vibrant murals, igniting conversations about resilience and the struggles they shared. Emily was no longer just a girl fighting the world alone. She was becoming a beacon of hope for her community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emily stood resolute at the bank, fire igniting her heart, tension simmered in the atmosphere. She faced Mr. Thompson's contempt with unwavering integrity, her voice steady despite the boiling frustration inside her. Just then, the bell of the bank's door jingled, and in walked Laura, unaware of the storm swirling around her daughter. The sight of Emily standing tall against the towering figure of ridicule struck a chord deep within Laura's chest. Years of guilt and longing flooded her senses. Their eyes met, and in that instant, a multitude of unspoken words hung heavy between them. Would they bridge the chasm created by years apart? Would this confrontation bring the resolution both desperately needed, or would pride continue to drive a wedge that might never mend? The world spun around them, but in that moment, the future seemed to waver uncertainly, each heartbeat pulsing with potential and the promise of hope. Emily's breath held as she locked eyes with Laura. Time itself seemed to grind to a halt, the noise of the bank fading into a distant hum. The expression on her mother's face was a mix of shock and recognition, a mirror to Emily's own turmoil. "Emily?" Laura's voice was soft, almost hesitant, as if she were afraid to break the fragile moment. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her features, the weight of her absence for all those years hanging in the air like a heavy fog. "What are you doing here?" Emily's voice trembled with a mix of defiance and longing. It was a question laced with history, with the pain of words unspoken all these years. She fought to keep her composure, to not unravel in front of this woman that was once her whole world, now a stranger. I was just passing through," Laura stammered, an excuse that felt insufficient. She glanced at Mr. Thompson, whose bemusement faded into curiosity as he took in the scene unfolding before him. A moment passed, stretching out like an eternity, each second packed with the weight of memories, as the walls of the bank closed in around them. "You ripped up my check," Emily said, bitterness spilling over her tongue. "I came here today for help. I thought, maybe this time it would be different." Laura's heart sank, a pang of sympathy mingling with deep regret. "Emily, I didn't know. I didn't know you needed it so badly. You don't get to say that," Emily snapped, her voice rising, filled with the hurt of years. "You chose your career over us. You left us me. I've spent my life scraping by while you built an empire. You don't get to stroll back into my life when it's convenient." A flicker of hurt crossed Laura's face, but she held firm, a lifetime of lessons about strength and pride coiling up inside her. "I thought I was doing what was best for us. For who?" Emily's voice was raw, her anger unfurling. "You've been living your dream, all the while ignoring ours." Mr. Thompson stood nearby, his earlier derision replaced with something resembling respect. He could see how this wasn't just a chance encounter. It was a reckoning. "I'm sorry," Laura finally said, her voice breaking. She stepped closer, tentative. "I never wanted it to be like this. I've wanted to reach out so many times, but I didn't know how to fix what I broke. I thought we could rebuild, but I didn't know how to start." Emily's eyes glistened as she tried to grapple with the storm of emotions washing over her: anger, hurt, but beneath it all, a desperate hope. "Why now?" she asked softly, her heart catching in her throat. Laura looked down, taking a moment, and when she met Emily's gaze again, it was filled with determination. "Because I've learned that success is empty without the people we love. I need to make things right, even if it feels impossible." Just then, the whispers of other bank patrons began to swirl around them. Curiosity piqued. Emily felt exposed, but also aware of how their shared moment had captivated the room. Would they truly find a way back to each other? With a shaky breath, Emily lowered her walls just a fraction. "We can't just pretend it didn't happen." Laura nodded, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I wouldn't dream of it. Let us talk. We owe it to each other." As tentative steps paved the way to reconciliation, Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, breaking the tension. "I think we need to talk to Miss Laura about the impact of our bank's decisions." A realization struck Emily. This wasn't just about her and Laura anymore. They had unleashed a conversation that could change the trajectory of more than just their lives. But what if this conversation revealed secrets beyond even Emily's wildest imagination? Emily felt the air shift as those words hung between them. Her heart raced, and no amount of breathing could calm the storm inside her. Was it possible that all this chaos had been sparked not just by their confrontation, but by something larger? Something that reached beyond her personal pain? "What do you mean?" Her voice was firmer now, curiosity creeping in. She needed clarity, a roadmap out of the tangled feelings that swirled around her. Mr. Thompson adjusted his glasses, the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. "The bank's policies, they have consequences. Your mother's decisions impacted so many people. And those decisions mirror some of the things you've said." Laura's gaze shifted from Emily to Mr. Thompson, her own uncertainty simmering. "What are you implying?" "I'm saying," he continued, "that the things we ignore often come back to haunt us. As a CEO, you hold power, but that power comes with responsibilities you can't overlook. And your decisions have left ripples that extend beyond your boardroom." Emily's brow furrowed as she listened, her anger giving way to confusion. Was her mother truly at the center of something bigger? This was not just an individual fight. It was about systems, about layers of hurt. Had Emily been a participant in a larger game, all while believing she was just grappling with her mother's absence? "Emily," Laura started, stepping closer. Don't. The word slipped out like a secret. Just let me think. The flush of pain and anger twisted up inside her, but now other feelings weighed down on her. Guilt for wanting to understand, a desperate need for honesty, and maybe, just maybe, a faint glimmer of reconciliation. But would it come with more hurt? As the patrons edged closer, nudging one another with their whispers, Emily glanced at Laura. She looked vulnerable but still fierce. No doubt the people in the bank perceived something monumental happening, something that wasn't limited to just a mother and daughter or a financial institution. "What are you going to do now?" Emily finally asked. Laura faltered. "I'm going to own it, Emily. I need to. I can't undo the past, but I can try and change the future. For both of us." "That's a big promise," Emily shot back, half hopeful, half mocking. "Do you want to know what's behind it?" Laura asked, the walls around her heart cracking just a bit. Emily hesitated. Emotions churned within her like a whirlpool, threatening to pull her under. But the thought that maybe this wasn't just about her, that this was about lives impacted, decisions made, stirred an unexpected curiosity in her. "Yeah," she finally replied, "I do." "We should go somewhere private," Laura suggested. "Let us step out of the spotlight and talk somewhere where we can really be honest." With a deep breath, Emily considered it. Could she really take that leap? Was she ready to dig deeper? "Okay," she whispered, uncertainty mixed with a flicker of hope. As they turned to leave the bank, the buzzing crowd faded behind them. Emily felt a world of questions thrumming in her chest, secrets that could rewrite everything she thought she knew about her mother and herself. What truths might Laura unveil? Would they lead Emily to forgiveness or plunge her deeper into confusion? Before she could spiral further, a voice cut through the noise, stopping her in her tracks. "Emily, wait!" It was Mr. Thompson, urgency in his tone. "You need to hear this, too. It could change everything." A new tension filled the air as Emily faced him, heart pounding. What had he to say that could possibly hold the power to alter their tangled fate? The sudden urgency in Mr. Thompson's voice was like a spark in the dry air, electrifying and unexpected. Emily felt her heart rate quicken, the confusion mixing with apprehension. She glanced at Laura, whose expression mirrored her own mix of shock and concern. "What do you mean?" Emily pressed, unable to hold back the urgency in her voice. The bank, with its polished floors and looming ceilings, felt claustrophobic now, as if the walls were closing in on them. Mr. Thompson stepped closer, lowering his voice. "There are things about your mother's decisions that haven't been made public. Things that could change how you view everything: the bank, your relationship with her, even your own path. I believe you deserve to know." Emily swallowed hard, grappling with the truth hanging in the air. She felt as if she was standing at the edge of a precipice, the abyss below filled with possibilities she'd never considered. "What kind of things?" Laura crossed her arms, her defenses rising again. "If this concerns Emily, then I think she should hear this privately." "No," Mr. Thompson insisted, his eyes resting on Emily. "She needs to hear this from both of us. It's important." Reluctantly, Laura nodded, though her posture remained tense. Emily took a step toward Mr. Thompson, her curiosity piquing. "All right, I'm listening." "Your mother," he began, taking a breath, was faced with a decision that impacted not only the bank but the community as well. It's easy to see her as just a CEO, but she was trying to manage a financial crisis, one that involved saving jobs and livelihoods. There were forces at play, and her choices weren't just for profit. They were often sacrifices. Emily felt her heart twist. The very image she had of her mother had always been one-dimensional, a resolute businesswoman consumed by numbers, the absence of a parent. She'd never considered the complexities of her situation. So she had no choice? Mr. Thompson shook his head. Every decision has a consequence, Emily. But the intention matters, too. Your mother was fighting for people she'd never met, making choices that feel cold from the outside, but were profoundly human on the inside. Emily glanced at Laura, searching for some hint of empathy. The vulnerable look in her mother's eyes told her that this conversation was spurring something deep within both of them. So why not tell me? Why keep it hidden? Laura's expression shifted. Because I thought you wouldn't understand, that you'd only see the mistakes. Or maybe I just wanted a chance to know you, to really know you. The admission escaped Emily's lips before she could rein it in, the raw sincerity carving through the air. The silence stretched, heavy with emotions too potent to voice. Emily could feel their shared history bearing down on them, the anger, the hurt, and the glimmers of hope intertwining. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, breaking the tension. Sometimes, it takes a catalyst for change. This moment, your confrontation is that catalyst. It's about rebuilding trust, Laura, and it begins with transparency. Laura nodded slowly, her gaze steady on Emily. I can't change the past, but I want to share everything. The vulnerabilities, the mistakes, and the reasons behind my choices. You deserve that. Emily met her mother's eyes, feeling the gravity of what lay between them: questions, regrets, unspoken truths. Could this truly lead them to a better understanding of each other? Would they find a way to bridge the gaps that had defined their relationship for so long? As the weight of their shared honesty settled around them, Emily felt a flicker of possibility ignite in her heart. But just then, the doors of the bank swung open, and a commotion erupted outside, drawing their attention. "Emily!" a familiar voice shouted. It was her best friend, Jess, racing toward them, panic etched across her features. "You have to come outside. There is something happening that you need to see. It's about your mom, and it's big." Emily's heart seized, battling a mix of dread and anticipation. What now? What truth was lurking around the corner, ready to redefine everything they'd started to untangle? Emily's breath hitched as Jess reached them, her face pale and frantic. The urgency in her friend's voice made a knot of anxiety coil in Emily's stomach. "Don't just stand there, Emily. You have to see this." Without waiting for a reply, Jess turned and hurried toward the large glass doors. The chaos outside was palpable, filled with raised voices and murmurs from a gathering crowd. Emily felt the air crackle with anticipation as she glanced back at Laura and Mr. Thompson, searching for reassurance. "Just go," Laura urged, her voice steadying. "We can continue talking later." Emily nodded, the weight of her mother's gaze pushing her forward. She rushed outside, her heart pounding as she followed Jess through the throng of people. As Emily emerged, the scene unfolded before her like a tense movie scene. There, amidst the crowd, was a young woman, visibly shaken, holding an oversized check in her hands. The bank manager, a stern-faced man named Mr. Jennings, was standing before her, his brow furrowed with concern. "Jessica, what is going on?" Emily asked, trying to get a clearer picture. Jess shook her head, barely able to catch her breath. "I don't know. But I overheard them arguing about that check. Something about it being a mistake. You have to hear what he says." Emily stepped closer, straining to hear the conversation. The young woman's voice cracked as she pleaded, "I need the money to help pay for my brother's medical bills." "You can't do this." Mr. Jennings stood firm, his tone austere. "I'm sorry, but it's against policy. I can't honor this check without verification, and the legitimacy is in question." His words were clipped, almost cold, sending a ripple of disappointment through the crowd. "Verification? It's a legitimate account. I've been a loyal customer." She was desperate now, and Emily felt her heart ache for her. Suddenly, the young woman crumpled the check in one hand, tears brimming in her eyes. "This was all I had. You don't understand what my family is going through." Something shifted in Emily. She remembered her own struggles, those feelings of helplessness and despair. The walls of the bank, which earlier felt so stifling, suddenly turned into a backdrop of real human emotion spilling out on the steps. Jess grabbed Emily's arm, urging her forward. "You have to do something. You can talk to your mom. Maybe she can help." Emily hesitated, battling with the thought of bringing her mother into this public confrontation. But as she steadied her breath, she recalled Mr. Thompson's words about sacrifice, about her mother's fight for people she'd never met. "Okay," she said, determination sparking within her. "Let us see if I can reach her." They moved through the crowd, Emily's heart racing. She felt a surge of purpose. This was a chance to not just bring her mother into a situation that demanded compassion, but it was also a moment to bridge the divide between them. As she approached the front of the crowd, Emily caught sight of Jess watching her with wide eyes, encouraging her silently. She needed courage to face her own truths, especially in the presence of her mother. This could redefine everything: the relationship, her understanding of the bank, and most importantly, how she viewed herself. "Mom," she called out, her voice slicing through the murmurs as she scanned the gathering for familiar hair and features. Just then, she saw Laura stepping through the doors, her face taut with concern. The moment their eyes met, Emily felt the weight of everything they had discussed inside. This was it. This was the confrontation they needed to face together. But before she could call out again, a sudden movement drew everyone's attention back to Mr. Jennings. "Wait! Everyone needs to see this," he shouted, raising his voice above the crowd. Emily's heart raced with curiosity and dread. What could be happening now? What revelation lay ahead that would shake them all to their core? The atmosphere shifted as people leaned in, waiting for the next words to create a new narrative. Would it be more shocking truths, or a resolution that they all needed? The chatter in the crowd hushed as Mr. Jennings took a step back, adjusting his glasses nervously. Emily felt the tension ripple through the group, a silent pact among strangers, braced for whatever was about to unfold. "Listen, everyone," he said, his voice steady but strained. "I know this situation is deeply troubling. We all want to help. And in light of new information, I think it's best we address this more transparently." Emily's pulse quickened. What new information could change everything? She glimpsed at Jess, who stood beside her, eyes wide and full of hope. "New information?" The young woman echoed, her voice shaky but laced with disbelief. "What do you mean?" "You were just about to—" I know," Mr. Jennings interrupted, raising his hand for silence. "And I can't keep this from you any longer. The check you received was, in fact, from a very reputable source." Emily's eyes narrowed, straining to see the young woman's reaction. Confusion morphed into surprise, as she slowly lowered the crumpled check, her hands trembling. "In fact," Mr. Jennings continued, "now that the director of the account has come forward, I can fully verify the funds and ensure that we honor this transaction." Gasps erupted from the crowd, a mixture of disbelief and excitement swirling among the onlookers. Emily's heart raced. Was this truly happening? "Wait, are you saying?" The young woman's eyes shimmered with tears. "Are you saying I actually have the funds?" "Yes," Mr. Jennings replied, unemotionally yet firmly, and proceeded to lift the crumpled check above his head like a trophy. "But first, I'd like everyone to know who is behind this miraculous check." Emily's breath caught in her throat. What was going on? She felt a sense of dread that the happy ending may not be what everyone hoped for. "It seems, ladies and gentlemen," he announced, a smirk creeping into his serious demeanor, "that the funds were transferred from none other than, well, from our beloved CEO, Laura Carter." Whispers filled the air like loud fireworks, eyes darting toward Emily's mother, who stood just behind her. Laura looked stunned, astonished at being thrust into the limelight. The young woman in front of Mr. Jennings spun around, searching the crowd until her eyes landed on Laura. "You did this? You made this happen?" A flicker of disbelief ignited hope in her eyes. I didn't." Laura began to stammer, but Emily didn't need to hear the rest. She felt a heavy weight lift from her shoulders. "Yes, Mom." Emily found herself shouting, unable to contain the emotion. "This is the time. You can help her. You need to." Laura blinked in surprise, processing Emily's plea as if trying to decode a language she hadn't spoken in years. "I only helped guide the process." Laura started again, but the crowd was no longer interested in her hesitations. More people began to cheer for Laura, expressing their gratitude towards a woman they hardly knew but respected nonetheless. Emily stood rooted in place, torn between the pride she felt for her mother and the fear of how this would affect their already strained relationship. "Mom, if you really cared about people, now's your chance to show it." Emily's voice rang through the chaos, powerful and unwavering. As discussion swirled around them, Laura's gaze began to steady. There was no turning back now. Emily could see the realization dawning on her mother. This was a moment to bridge the gap, not just for the woman in front of them, but for herself as well. What would her mother decide? Would she step forward to help? Or would this be another missed opportunity, another moment of self-preservation while others suffered? As the crowd's energy reached a crescendo, anticipation loomed thick in the air. Laura took a deep breath, and Emily's heart thudded with hope and fear. Would this be the moment they had both been waiting for? And as Laura's lips parted to speak, Emily felt the world around her blur. They were on the brink of something. What would come next would ripple through their lives forever. The crowd held its breath as Laura stood framed by Emily's support and the brightness of the stage lights. The gravity of the moment hung heavy, all eyes fixed on her. Whatever came next would define not just the day but their lives. Laura finally managed, her voice trembling slightly. As she looked from Emily to the young woman, the enormity of the situation seemed to wash over her. The cheers faded into a distant hum, the excitement in the air thick with anticipation. She could feel the warmth of the lighter hearts around her, hopeful, waiting. "This is surprising," Laura began, knitting her brow. "But yes, I do have access to funds that could help." She paused, catching herself in the whirlwind of her emotions. Could she truly step into this role? Could she become the person everyone wanted her to be? "Help her, Mom," Emily urged, her voice rising above the noise again. It was a plea, raw and filled with everything she felt: hope, fear, longing. Laura swallowed hard, a battle brewing within her. Could she shed the layers of corporate indifference and snap judgments she had wrapped around herself for so long? "In this moment," she continued, finding strength, "I realize I've held back far too much in life. I want to help. I want to use what I have to actually make a difference." The crowd erupted into applause. Emily felt tears prick her eyes as she watched a flicker of genuine resolve flicker across her mother's face. This wasn't just an act of charity. It was a shift. "And you deserve this chance," Laura said, addressing the young woman with determination. "What is your name?" "It's Jess," she replied, her voice steadying, that flicker of hope igniting into something warmer. "Jess Miller." "Jess," Laura echoed. "I'm proud to say, thanks to the support of the community, I will personally make sure you have what you need. We'll get this settled right away." A wave of emotion coursed through Emily. Jess' South wish was close to becoming reality. Around them, a gritty sense of collective triumph emerged, like a phoenix unfurling its wings amidst the flames of worry. Laura stepped down, her gaze now alight with purpose as she approached Jess. Emily followed, heart pounding, but filled with a new sense of pride. As the CEO knelt beside the young woman, she saw a bridge being built between their disparate worlds. Thank you," Jess whispered through tears, collapsing into an embrace with Laura. In that moment, Emily saw the tight bond of a complicated family tugged and twisted by the pressures of their own realities, but still yearning for connection. As the clapping continued, a wave of warmth spread through the crowd. It was a reminder of the good that could still flourish. The world felt bigger, more connected somehow, a place where empathy made room for possibility. Through this tiny act of kindness, a ripple had begun. "Mom," Emily whispered, tears of joy spilling down her cheeks. "You're amazing." Laura looked back at her daughter, her face shifting from the usual corporate mask to something softer. "Thank you, Emily. I'm still figuring things out, but I want to be better for you, and for everyone." Just when the applause began to soften and the excitement turned to relief, a voice cut through the crowd, the municipal financial advisor of the town, someone Emily recognized but hadn't expected to see here today. "Excuse me," he called, pushing through the throng. "I need to speak to you all about some irregularities in our budget, especially with respect to the very funds that are flowing into this situation." Laura and Emily exchanged glances, the air shifting once again. Was this about to threaten everything they had just built in this moment? The crowd held its breath again, their joy trembling on the edge of uncertainty. What was about to unfold now? "Wait," the financial advisor continued, his voice steady but urgent. "This is serious. There are discrepancies in the accounts. If funds are being redirected without proper review, there could be consequences." Concern rippled through the crowd. Emily felt her heart race, anxiety tightening her chest as she clutched her mother's arm. Laura's expression transformed from determination to alarm, the warmth and hope of the moment dissolving into uncertainty. What had seemed like a new beginning for Jess now hung in the balance. "Discrepancies? What do you mean?" Laura stepped forward, her voice firm, yet faltering under the weight of the unknown. It was a stark reminder of her responsibilities as a leader, a moment where the duality of her role both comforted and haunted her. "Funds have been allocated improperly, and we need to ensure that everything aligns with the regulations," the advisor replied. He flicked through his papers, his brow furrowing as his eyes scanned for the details. "Miss Miller's needs are commendable, but we can't move forward without proper oversight. It sets a bad precedent." With each passing moment, Emily felt the air grow heavier. She remembered what it was like to watch her mother make authoritative decisions divorced from the emotional aspects that weighed so heavily on their lives. In this moment, Laura was both CEO and mother, battling the tides of corporate procedure and the warm tremors of compassion interwoven into the atmosphere. "Isn't there's something we can do?" Emily blurted out, desperation bleeding into her voice. She could see Jess shrinking back, her light flickering, as the uncertainty cast a shadow over her dreams. Laura began, but she quickly swallowed her words. Instead, the steadfast resolve began to form behind her gaze again. "We're not backing down from this. Jess deserves a chance, just like everyone else here in our community, and I won't let bureaucracy stand in the way." There was a hum of agreement in the crowd, a wave of murmurs, nods, and even a few claps of support. Encouraged, Jess stepped forward and spoke up, her voice steadier than before. "I understand, really. But please, I just want a chance to make something of my life. Isn't there a way to do both? To help and still follow the rules?" It was a powerful question, ringing through the air like a bell. Laura glanced sideways at Emily, whose eyes radiated hope. Then she faced Jess with renewed strength. "Let me figure this out. Let us look at the budget together, and we'll find a way to make this work. We'll gather all the right people to ensure everything is above board." The financial advisor's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise least expected. "That is going to take time," he replied cautiously, but a hint of admiration snuck into his tone. "I'm willing to do what it takes," Laura said, her commitment blooming, casting aside fears of the unknown. We'll make this happen, Jess. You and your future are worth every bit of the effort. Emily felt a tear slide down her cheek again, but this time it was accompanied by a burgeoning sense of pride. Her mom wasn't just a corporate giant, but a woman whose heart beat fiercely for those who needed it most. As the crowd leaned in, energized by the shift in momentum, a chorus of renewed hope filled the air. But before they could fully embrace this resurgence, the advisor continued, his brows knitting together again. You might need to prepare for pushback. Not everyone on the board will be on board with this approach. We'll have some tough conversations ahead. Laura nodded, steeling herself as the shadows of doubt returned just slightly to the edges of her resolve. Then I'll fight for the right side of this battle. For Jess. For our community. Nobody gets left behind. As applause broke out again, louder and more fervent than before, Laura felt a deep breath pull through her chest. She understood now that she wasn't just stepping into a role for Jess. She was embracing the core of who she was capable of being both as a mother and a leader. But as the noise enveloped them, Emily couldn't shake the gnawing worry. What would it take to navigate this labyrinth of regulations? And would the fight diminish their newfound hope or solidify it in ways they never expected? Mom, Emily whispered, urgency threading through her voice. What's next? What do we do if they say no? Laura looked at her daughter, a mix of determination and uncertainty painting her expression. Then we show them why they can't. Together. A spark of fear danced in the air, but Emily could only wonder, could they truly challenge the forces that lay before them? The stakes had never been higher, and both of their futures hung in the balance. Would they uphold what they had just begun to build, or would it unravel before them? The meeting room buzzed with anticipation. Laura stood at the front, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she prepared to face the board. The financial advisor's warnings echoed in her mind, but she couldn't let fear take hold. No, not today. Today she would speak for Jess, and for every young person who dared to dream. Gathered around the sleek table, the board members wore serious expressions, their eyes darting between their papers and Laura. She could feel the weight of their skepticism, but also the flickering hope ignited by her earlier speech. Thank you all for coming here today, she began, her voice steady. I know we have a challenging path ahead, but I firmly believe we can navigate this while staying true to our mission. She paused, letting her words sink in. The chatter died down, and for the first time, all eyes were on her. She took a deep breath, recalling Jess's face, the determination, the dreams. I'm here to talk about the community initiative we set forth to support young talent like Jess Miller. She has the potential for greatness, and I won't watch that slip away. A board member spoke up, cutting through the tension. But Laura, it's about the discrepancies in the budget. We can't approve funding without proper oversight. It's our responsibility. I understand your concerns, she replied, firmness edging her tone. But what is the purpose of these funds if they don't serve the very people who need them? Jess is an example of what our commitment can do. We need to invest in our future. A murmur rippled through the attendees, some nodding in agreement, while others frowned. It was clear this discussion was going to be contentious. A woman with glasses cleared her throat, her gaze intense. Let us not forget the precedent this sets. If we bend the rules for one, then we might as well abandon our principles, Laura interjected, fighting for every word. We talk about innovation, about community impact. This is our chance to embody those values. It's not just Jess who'll benefit. It's everyone who seeks a shot at a better life. Emily sat behind her mother, her heart racing. She felt proud as she watched Laura transform into a force of nature, unyielding and passionate. Yet, doubts crept into her mind. How would the board react? Could they really make a lasting change? Laura, we can't just brute force our way into approval, the financial advisor chimed in, his brow furrowing. Legalities matter. We might be risking more than we can afford. I'm not naive enough to think this will be easy, Laura shot back, determination lighting her eyes. But if we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. I'm asking you all to believe in this mission. Believe in Jess. Let us ensure that her story doesn't end here. The room fell silent once more. The board members exchanged glances, weighing her words. Emily held her breath, yearning for them to recognize the truth in her mother's plea. This was more than numbers. It was about lives changed. Just when it seemed Laura had won a moment of softening, a gruff voice broke through. We need to vote. This is not just a feel-good initiative. It's a risk. Who is willing to stand up for something that could potentially endanger the company's finances? The air shifted, heavy with tension again. Emily could almost see the scales tipping, their hopes hanging by a thread. She glanced at Jess, who had come to watch the meeting, her expression filled with both dread and hope. Mom, Emily whispered, her voice barely a breath, what if they don't see it your way? I'll fight for what is right, Laura replied softly, her eyes shimmering with determination. I cannot let bureaucratic hurdles stand in the way of hope. As the board prepared to vote, anxiety wrapped around Emily like a tight hug. Would the board understand the gravity of this decision? Would they stand behind Laura? Or would this dream, Jess's dream, slip away? The chair lifted his hand and announced, all in favor? Emily squeezed Laura's hand, her heart pounding. Whatever happened next could change everything. The moment of truth hung in the air, and they were all about to discover just how far they were willing to go for what they believed in. A wave of uncertainty washed over the room as the chair's voice echoed, all in favor? Moments stretched long. It felt like time had slowed to a crawl. Emily held her breath, clutching Laura's hand tightly. She could feel the fear and hope thrumming between them, a palpable connection that promised transformation. One by one, hands began to rise tentatively across the table. It started slowly, just a few, then more joined in, as if the courage was spreading like wildfire. Emily's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she watched her mom's speech begin to make waves, starting from the center and rippling outward. Wait, should we really do this? A voice broke through, the initial enthusiasm punctured by caution. It was one of the older board members, his face etched with doubt. What if we're opening a can of worms? This could change everything. Laura stepped forward, the confidence she radiated now more like a beacon. We must not let fear decide our future. Each one of us has watched people suffer due to outdated practices. My daughter and I are living proof that change is possible when we stand together. The room erupted in a murmur. Uncertainty mingled with those hopeful glimmers. Let us make it clear, Laura continued, her voice steady. This isn't just about one check for Jess. It's about changing the narrative for everyone who has been overlooked by the system. It's about empathy, compassion, and leadership. We can't ignore what we have the power to change, just because it's hard. Emily felt her spirit lift as she watched her mother's determination seep into the hearts around the table. She looked over at Jess, who was standing by the door, eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and hope. At that moment, Emily knew they were on the brink of something monumental. Please, Laura implored, searching each member's eyes. If we make this decision, we not only give Jess a chance, but also set a precedent for others. We're using our resources for a greater good, one that has the power to inspire. The tension began to break. Another hand shot up. Then another. A sense of unity began to form, blossoming in the room, like flowers forcing their way through cracks in the concrete. Okay, the chair said, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. I'm convinced. This is going to be a leap of faith, but I believe the company can support this mission for Jess and for the community. Let it be known that we're voting for hope, Laura added with a bright fervor that ignited the room. All in favor? The chair asked once more. This time, hands flew up in agreement, and the sound of unanimous ayes rang through the air, each one a resounding affirmation of their commitment. The board members began to exchange glances of surprise and satisfaction, the decision becoming concrete with every rising hand. A rush of triumph swept over Emily. She couldn't help but erupt into applause, and soon the room joined in, the thunderous sound echoing ambitions and dreams, solidifying a path where once there was doubt. Jess wiped away tears as the news sank in. "This is really happening," she exclaimed, her voice cracking in disbelief. Stepping forward, Laura knelt down to Jess's level. "I believe in you, Jess. Let us do this together." As the applause subsided, Emily watched the emotional exchange with pride. In that moment, her heart swelled a mix of love for her mother and admiration for Jess. The dark clouds of their past had parted to offer a glimpse of brightness, illuminating possibilities they all thought had slipped away. "Let us meet soon to discuss the plan," the chair called out, and the board members began to shift into action, sketches of hope emerging from sophisticated conversations. Relief washed over Emily, and she pulled Laura into a hug, whispering, "You did it, Mom. You really did it." Laura hugged her back tightly, the barriers between them shattering piece by piece. "We've only just begun." Outside, the sun filtered through the trees, bathing everything in warmth, the energy shimmering with the promise of a new beginning. And as they walked out, hand in hand, Emily knew this was the moment that transformed not just their lives, but their community as well. Together, they had ignited a beacon of change, a force stronger than any institution. "Let us keep pushing forward," Laura said, a glimmer of hope dancing in her eyes. "Yes," Emily agreed, beaming. "For everyone who deserves a chance." As they stepped into the light, the future sparkled before them, filled with infinite possibilities, a mother and daughter, side by side, ready to reclaim their world. Beautifully imperfect, but undeniably there's a testament to transformed love and relentless hope. Now, hold on tight. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let it know this is the ending people want to see. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this epic transformation. Send it to at least 5 friends who need to see this. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep riding this wave together.